Hey, now today's topic is why feminine energy is unintelligent, why the focus on feminine energy is unintelligent. And first, I want to give you the definition of feminine energy, right? So let me just pull up my definition here. All right. So feminine energy is all of the nurturing traits it takes to connect to human beings in a meaningful and fulfilling way. It's compassionate, kind, empathetic, patient, and emotional. It's about embracing your intuition and creativity. Feminine energy is fluid and free. This definition comes from happierhuman.com. Okay, so let's talk about that. What are some of the characteristics of being feminine? And I mean, we have to define it if we're going to discuss it, right? So, one of them is listed online as feminine energy is intuitive, generous, nurturing, creative, caring, receptive. And you could be saying to yourself, well, I need to be softer. I don't want any more drama. I've had drama all my life. I need more self care and peace. So, why is a focus on feminine energy unintelligent? It's because focusing on these qualities are great, but it has to be in the right frame or the right framework or the right viewpoint in order for you to actually apply these certain skills to your life to get to that point. So you want a framework that works to transform you from a person that communicates poorly or always in conflict to a woman that knows who she is, knows what she wants, and pursues and achieves goals with elegance and grace. So keep watching to the end of this video, and I'll show you why focusing on feminine energy costs you more than it benefits you. I am Davina Dandridge, author and emotional empowerment coach. Each week, we discuss topics that help women manage their emotional roller coaster of life. I mean, we all have ups and downs, we all have struggles and need transformation to take place at different times in our lives. And so I share my bling concept for emotional intelligence so that you can become the person that can curate the life that you want. So, curate means that you create the life around you and the things that you see and the things that you do based purely on what it takes for you to be happy and what you want out of life. So let's jump in to today's topic because if you're watching this, then you either are curious about what feminine energy is or you want to know why feminine energy can be unintelligent. And let's take a look at some things that really impact how we view femininity in today's society. So, with social media, and I always go back to social media because there's been times without social media longer than there's been times with social media. And because we are so immersed in this information age, it's like we accept things that could be true just because they're popular. So let's just talk about some things. Now, I am online just like everybody else. You know, I scroll and I get sucked in and I start watching videos, and then I see more and more of some of the same topics because of the algorithm. Now, look, we're not naive. We know by now how this works, right? So the topic that keeps coming in is feminine energy versus masculine energy, gender roles in relationships. And it's a huge part of online discussions. But the thing, as a professor and as a person who reads and understands, is that you can't take every conversation that you see online and roll with it. The terminology, the meaning behind the words that are used, some of those things may be correct. And I'm not bashing anybody who's talking about these topics and have done research and, you know, they know what they're talking about. I mean, people do. What I'm talking about is how society and social media and just the way that we communicate and put out so much information, how it has impacted some of the things that for over centuries have been the same, like gender roles, right? So, because life is different now, the gender roles in society have changed, especially here in America. If we think about over the last 100 years, things are totally different than they used to be. And it doesn't matter the race, it doesn't matter the economic status for the most part. Even if we think up to the 80s, some of these roles were still the same. So, gender roles play a big role in what we perceive as femininity and masculinity. So, if we think about education, a lot more women are educated these days, where in the past, and even in some places, even now, it's difficult for women to be educated because there wasn't a value there in the same way that it was for men. So now more women are educated. More women are in the workforce and really doing major things, climbing the ladder, owning companies, running companies, making money. And so the power dynamic in the household may shift, but it definitely has shifted for society. Okay. And then the empowerment. I mean, before we even get to talk about the movements of the last 5 to 10 years, we can talk about the suffrage movement. We can talk about women who've been in power, women who have been, monarchs. All of those things matter. But I'm talking about for the everyday woman, we are empowered to take control of our households, our lives, our bodies, everything concerning us. And so I'd like to take it a step further and say that we are in control of our emotions. We are in control of what we do, what we have, and who we are. Okay. So, as single parent households, we know that that has made a shift in the way femininity is viewed because you have to put on an armor when you a single mama, because I've been a single mama, right? And it's different because you're everything for the household at that moment. You are everything for the child at certain points because you're the one that's there. And then you also have to protect the home. You have to fill the home. You have to do things to make the home nice, a nice place and a safe place. So being a single parent or a mother specifically means that you might be a little tougher or have to make decisions in a certain way because that's what you've had to do. You've had to do it. And so I get that. So that has changed what femininity is. I remember when my husband and I got together and we were serious at this point. And, when it came time for things in the household, and this is at the time we were engaged. So when it had to do with Morgan, because I'm accustomed to being a single mom. So, which meant I handled things. I didn't have to do much discussion. If there was something that I felt like she needed or I wanted to do or we wanted to go, that was it. But now we are becoming a blended family. So the dynamics have changed. I don't have to have on that whole armor and be strong at everything when I have a partner with me, right? I remember we were having a discussion, and I can't remember specifically what it was, but it boiled down to I was making a decision where I was taking on all of the duty concerning something that had to do that I would normally do as a single mom. And my husband said to me, he was like, "Look, I'm here now. We're in this together. You can include me in these things because this is our family in our house and you no longer have to do everything." So I understand that being a single mom, it changes everything. It does. But the other thing that changes is the expectations when it comes to dating. And those are the roles that we're talking about specifically. Yeah, it's important, the role that you play in a gender role or, in your household dynamic and when it comes to your family, all that is important. I'm really talking about introspectively because I see online where people are saying, I'm in my soft era, or I'm working on my feminine energy, or you're not going to take my feminine energy. Well, all of those things, I'm not sure how they mean them, but in all of my years of study, that terminology, if I've heard it, it hasn't been meant or used in the same way. And I could be wrong. I don't know everything. I say that I don't know everything, but I do know some things. Okay. So in the dating realm, and you know, a friend of mine who is a therapist, Nika Owens, she posted a video on her Instagram page, and it was a video of a couple. And this couple was on their second date and they were having an argument. And what the discussion was about was that the girl was under the impression that they were going to go out to dinner, and the guy had prepared what looked like steak and potatoes and broccoli, looked pretty good, for her at his home. But this was their second date. So the discussion was, and you could hear some things during the argument. She was saying that, she's accustomed to this, going out to a certain place. And he was saying that, I own my house. You should be happy that, I'm responsible and I'm willing to cook dinner for you. So the discussion was who was right or who was wrong. So I posted, and my response was that it was poor communication and unexpressed expectations on both parts. So surprising to me, I had about 300 people like what I said, and I just responded as a knee-jerk response, and I guess it's appropriate, and it was definitely applicable. But I did get some people. One person told me I had daddy issues, and that was a woman. And then a guy wanted to argue me down, saying, well, she didn't leave. She's sitting there arguing with him. But the thing about it is that the expectations are different because, and I think a lot of it is influenced by the discussions that I am seeing online, that if a woman chooses to stick up for herself or assert herself in a certain way, she is perceived to have masculine energy. Okay. And the men on the videos that I see want a submissive woman. Now, submission and feminine energy are not the same thing. So this is where I say the terminology just has to be right. Okay. So let me keep moving. So let me first say what masculine energy is. Okay, so here are some terms that represent masculinity as I found online. Okay, so remember what I said feminine energy was. So this is masculine energy. It's logical, confident, focused, assertive, stable, clear, and goal driven. Well, my goodness, that's me. Am I masculine? I'm not masculine. Emotional intelligence allows you to focus on being the person to do and have what you want in life. Okay. So, my idea is that the frame should not be around feminine energy. The frame should be placed around developing emotional intelligence. And I'm going to explain that as we go on. So the principles and skills used to become successful have little to do with masculine or feminine energy. It just doesn't. Those qualities that I just listed for the description of a male, yeah, maybe 100 or 50 years ago, that wouldn't be applicable in today's society to both men and women. But as time changes and society changes, our thinking needs to shift as well. But let's do it responsibly. So, the ideal model of a feminine woman to me is, first of all, my mom. But I'm going to provide you with a model that everyone can gravitate to. So let me just say about my mom. My mom is feminine energy. The way she walks, the way she talks, the way she sits, the way that she interacts with people, especially men, and it's not a put on, it's not airs, just the way she holds her hands is femininity. And it's a tradition that's been handed down from the women in her family. And just like anything else, you take on what you see. right? So all of my life, she's been operating this way. In business, I see her have strength and be a boss, but still be feminine. So we just have to adapt things. So the woman described in Proverbs 31, verses 10 through 31, is often referred to as the Proverbs 31 woman. So if you don't know that scripture, grab a Bible, go online, and read the scripture Proverbs 31. This woman embodies various roles. She's just not a one trick pony. She's not one way. She's a mother, she's a wife, she's an entrepreneur, and even more than that. Okay, but the important part is to recognize that her true worth, right, extends from beyond the titles. We are all multifaceted. So titles don't give us the worth, okay? It's the whole encompassing being that we are that gives us the worth. So beyond the title. So similarly, your value as a woman is not solely determined by your actions or how other people label you. For this discussion, though, I will focus on how you can increase your self-confidence, because I think sometimes what is read as masculine energy from women has a lot to do from the situation that they're in and their self-confidence. So I'm going to focus today on self-confidence, on being a great communicator, and a woman who finds success in love relationships and career, and that's by using emotional intelligence to add elegance, poise, and sophistication to your life. And it's not feminine energy. I'm going to title it a femininity. Let me just back up. Femininity is an aesthetic, but it's also a way of being. Okay, if that makes sense. It's an aesthetic, meaning the outwardly, the how you look. It's about, the trappings around you, but it's also about how you are in this world, how you show up, what you represent, and what you do. So I'm always saying that emotional intelligence is the beginning of becoming the person who can do the things or be the person that you want to be. Okay. So the first part is harnessing or managing your emotions, because if your emotions are all over the place, then what that does, it doesn't allow you to think properly. Okay. So your thinking is all over the place because your emotions are all over the place, because emotion and logic are two different things. They don't work in the same way. So you can be emotional about things, but you use logic to really assess where you are, why you feel that way, and manage that situation. So if you can manage your emotions, then you can manage your thinking, because your thinking influences your behavior. You do things based on how you're thinking. If you are thinking, let's say, some behavior that you've done in the past when you were, let's say maybe you had an issue with substance. Okay. You had issue with substance. I shouldn't use that. Scratch that. I'm not going to use that, because there's more to it than that. So I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to get into that. But let's say you had issue with behaviors. Okay. Maybe you were loose at one point. Everybody has that hot girl summer, if that's what you call it, where you kind of do things that you don't want to talk about anymore. Well, let me tell you why you were doing that. That behavior stemmed from some type of thinking that was going on with you. So I don't need to know the situation to know that you were exhibiting that behavior because you thought that it was fine, that it was good, that, it was okay for you to do that. And that could have been based on an emotion that you were having. Maybe there was something that triggered your emotion in a certain way, or unaddressed emotions for something else that happened. Or maybe you were trying to get over somebody and you felt like that was the best way for you to get over somebody, is get under somebody else. If that logic is what you use, then there was some emotional trigger that you could have addressed that would have changed that thinking. And you may have changed that thinking if you're no longer in that behavior. So emotions impact thinking. thinking impact behavior, and then your behavior creates the environment or situations that you're in. So during that time, I'm sure you were in some places you didn't need to be in and some situations that you wish you hadn't been in as well. So the first step to your femininity, okay, is self-awareness, because your self-awareness builds your self-confidence. And it doesn't matter if you are the perfect shape, if you are absolutely drop dead gorgeous, and then whose opinion matters anyway. What I'm talking about is an inward confidence that you exude without even trying. It's not about a purse, a shoe, or an outfit, or even makeup or hair. It is about you and how you feel about yourself and where you're going. So if we talk about masculine energy, that people are saying that some women have, which is why we're having the discussion on feminine energy, which is supposed to be the opposite. Masculine energy would display itself as being prideful or unforgiving or argumentative. But instead of saying feminine energy, if we let me just take a look at what the Proverbs 31 scripture says about a woman and her self-awareness. And I think, that self-confidence is displayed in how you communicate. And so the scripture says that she speaks with wisdom and faithful instruction is on her tongue. She don't waste words. The Proverbs 31 woman does not have idle words, meaning that she's not sitting around gossiping. She's not sitting around complaining. She's not sitting around regurgitating every bad thing that she's watched on the news or read online or saw in a reel. She speaks with wisdom and faithful instruction. Oh, faithful. So there's another clue about why this woman is so great. It's because she is a woman of faith. And, when you are a single mom, when you are shouldering a lot, you have a lot on your shoulders, you need a source that you can go to that never fails you. And God is my source. So having faith and listening to the Spirit and asking for wisdom is really what helps to lay the foundation for self-awareness so that you understand what it is that you should be doing and what is available to you. So who you are and whose you are very important. The next thing is and communication is the key. So I'm still focusing on the communication, but the next thing is listening. My daughter always tells me, because I'm moving fast, just like most women, I have a lot going on. I'm developing my business. I'm still teaching. I have a home to take care of, a husband, daughters. I have my mom. And, then I want some time for me, right? So all of those things going on, she has to remind me that, hey, you have to listen. You're not listening to me. And so hearing and listening are two different things. Listening means that I have the intent on understanding your viewpoint, understanding what it is that you're trying to communicate to me. And then I'm not just hearing it so I can give you a quick response because I know everything. Everyone's, especially in family and love relationship, everyone's opinion and feelings have value. And if you don't listen to the people that you love and you live with, you're going to have some problems. You're going to have conflict. Okay. And then once you listen, then you have to be vulnerable enough to be open to somebody else's point of view. Just like I said earlier, when my husband was like, hey, I'm here. Let me be part of this family. That's what we're doing, right? I had to be vulnerable enough or be confident enough in him or trust enough in him to let down my guard and let him participate in our life. And so being vulnerable is being open. And that's softer, if that's what you want to call it. But listen, you still have to, you can't do that with everybody, number one. And then you have to pick your moments when you do that, because it's all about assessing who you are and what triggers are in your life, and managing that whole part of your emotions. And another part of your emotions that could be detrimental to your energy is forgiveness. If you don't forgive, it doesn't hurt the person who has done aught to you, or who has damaged you in some way, or embarrassed you, or hurt you, or put you through trauma, because you might not get the closure. You might not get the apology that you're looking for, that you think will help you get into a better place. It might not be coming. And depending on when it happened in your life, you should be working to get past it. And I'm not saying you just because of time should get over it. You should be in a place now where you can take steps to resolve your feelings. So that could be therapy. All right, number one. And, looking for the right therapist and actually getting help, or joining a group and talking with other people who share that same issue. You have to forgive so you can move forward, because it is detrimental to your emotions. It's detrimental to your mental and physical health as well. All right, so let me keep moving. So then you need to have empathy. And empathy, listen, there's a thin line between having empathy and being a people pleaser. And I've ridden that line for quite a long time. And sometimes I'm on the right side, and sometimes I'm not. But the point is, you must always have empathy of some degree. And once you express empathy, then you still can go ahead and manage the situation. So I use the self gut check, which is a process that I created that really helps with empathy. It helps with listening, empathy, vulnerability, and boundaries, all within this same process. And it's just taking 1 minute, not even a minute, just a half a beat, to listen to somebody, hear their point of view, and then recognize where you are in the situation, and then decide how to move forward. And a lot of times, if you take that half a second to just really listen, you realize it's not about you. Whatever the conflict is, whatever the issue is most times about what the other person is feeling and going through. So the self gut check allows you to check your gut and just say, you know what? I'm going to give them a pass today. Or maybe I'll talk about this later. I'll bring it up to, I really didn't like what they did, but this is not the time. So empathy is a way of expressing that you understand that the other person is going through something. And it might not be verbal. Your expression of empathy may not be verbal. Like I said, you might just say, well, okay, I'm just not going to mess with her right now. I'm not going to check her right now. I'm not going to say anything right now. I'm not going to bring this up to him at this moment. You got to choose your battles. Maybe this isn't the battle that you take on because everything is going on. That leads me to my next point, which is argument triggers. Self-awareness and the way that you can minimize masculine energy being ascribed to you is by managing your triggers. Because if you know that what it is that sends you off the rails, that makes you really blow your top, you can manage those situations by either, confronting it head on, or addressing it with the person who is, causing this trigger, or changing something in your environment so that you don't experience that anymore. But oftentimes someone triggers you and it causes an argument. And, being argumentative is not good. I know people who, if I talk to them every day, they had to cuss somebody out, or they got into it, or they had a disagreement, or they felt that someone was offensive to them every single day, every single day. So if that's happening to you, if you have some type of conflict or altercation every single day, and this could be within the household, then something is triggering you that you must address, or otherwise you will always argue. And if you are looking to be more emotionally intelligent, then you don't need to argue to express your point. That's not the way you do it. All right. So here's the next point about feminine energy or getting into your soft era is about appearance. So I have a good girlfriend, and this is great. She's actually my accountability partner, and we have never met in person, but we've known each other for going on a year now. And we speak more than one time a week, and we have never FaceTime. We send each other pictures for different reasons. And she's been a part of my VIP group for my challenges. So we see each other across the screen. And, she's always saying to me that I have feminine energy. And I've heard this from people, that always talk about me being feminine. And that is something that I should share. So here's my opportunity to share some of my femininity tips. I'm gonna have to call it something else now that I've kind of said that I don't particularly care for the way that it's being phrased right now, but that's okay. That's coming to a video near you. But anyway, here are some of the ways that some women can be seen as masculine when it comes to appearance. And listen, I'm not talking about anything about identity. That's not what I'm talking about. I am talking about femininity. So if you are a woman who wants to be feminine, here's what I'm talking about. So on the masculine side, and I know people who say, well, I don't wear makeup. I don't need makeup. I just put such and such on my skin, maybe a little eyeliner and lip gloss, and I'm good to go. Oh, okay. Well, that's okay for some occasions. But if you're going to get in your feminine, or I said it's an aesthetic and it is a lifestyle, then you're going to have to wear makeup. If you wear earrings, if you wear jewelry, if you wear wigs, if you put on clothes and you match your outfits and carry a handbag, you're accessorizing. Makeup is an accessory. And especially when you get to be out of your teenage years, you need to start using makeup to accentuate your beauty. And I'm not saying you got to go look like you got on a pile of foundation and you have all of this different thing. It's all based on what works for you. So before I get all the way in it, let me just name off some of the other things that represent masculine energy. So first of all, it's the accept me as I am attitude. Because if you are a woman looking to be feminine, 9 times out of 10, you want to be feminine because you want to attract the gaze of a masculine, which is a man, right? All right. So men that have an accept me as I am attitude, it's more acceptable for men to do that. I mean, a man doesn't have to look a certain way in order for a woman to be attractive to him. And women, for the most part, do not either. However, if you want to keep your husband and your man, or you want to get one, you are going to have to pay attention to your appearance. So, no makeup, wearing athleisure or sweat clothes all the time, no hairstyle, like every day you're in a ponytail. Ponytails are appropriate, they are stylish, but not every day. So people see you before they know you, and men are attracted to you physically before they get to know how dynamic and wonderful you are. So it shows that you care about yourself, though, and it shows that you have the capacity to care for others. I know a lot of times when I was in my sales career or even in the classroom, I pay attention to my appearance. And I mean, I wear colorful outfits sometimes. I make sure that I'm coordinated. Like somebody that looks at me, they know that I took time to put myself together because there's a level of respect that comes with that. When I was in sales and I go to meet a client and all we've done is emailed or somebody referred me to them, then they're going to judge me based on my appearance. Do I look like what I'm supposed to be representing? Do I look like a person who they want to do business with? Do I look like in the classroom a person who can share an expertise? Even right here and right now, of course, I got done up because I'm here with you guys, but on a daily basis, I don't wear all of the same things that I wear on camera, but I do take time to think about what I'm wearing and putting on makeup because I've heard that, well, I have them now. I don't have to wear makeup and stuff like that. Well, you know what? Or this is the one I see online that men don't want women to wear all the makeup, all the hair, and all of that. But let me tell you, you don't want your woman to wear that, but that's who you're looking at. Like you see the men out in public that's doing the double takes, and they are attracted to that. So then the question begs to answer. So do I dress for me or do I dress for someone else? All right. Well, attractiveness is about your mental, physical, and emotional health. Okay. So if we're going back to the Proverbs 31 woman, right? She sets out about her work vigorously. This is from the scripture. Her arms are strong for her tasks. That means she is physically able to do things. She's physically able to do the things that she wants. She can walk. She can bend. She can uh, go places because she has worked or is working and she's physically active and strong. So, appearance, and we can't negate the part about physical health. Now, I'm not talking about being a certain weight or how your booty looks or whether all of the cosmetic things. We got to erase all of that. First of all, that's a trend that may not last. It hasn't always existed, and if we want to go into history, and that's another episode, we can see where that stems from and why it's just a trend. Okay, so we're not talking about any cosmetic. I'm talking about being physically healthy, thinking about the things you put in your body, moving your body, being better, wanting to be better mentally, physically, and emotionally. And that's what the Proverbs 31 woman is representing. And then about how you dress. We all have different styles, right? And I've always been what I call unique. I have my own sense of style from as far back as I can remember. And there's the influence about around my surroundings. The environment was with my mother and grandmother's dress. My dad would dress at times. As he got older, he got a little more relaxed. But you know, how you look, how you show up physically is definitely important. Okay. So, what is your authentic style? I like to be on trend, not trending. Okay. So, the Proverbs 31 woman, it says, she makes coverings for her bed. She is clothed in fine linen and purple. And that's Proverbs 31:22. So, what is that saying about her? That's saying that she takes time to find out what it is that she's going to dress. Oh, and not just for her. It also says that she makes sure her family looks good. And anytime you see purple, purple is royalty. Purple is that elevated life. And that's how I think about dressing. That first of all, if I were going to give anyone advice, it would be to find out, number one, what you like. And then, so if you like a certain aesthetic, and not so if you're not a pink person and you're trying to get into your feminine era, don't go out and buy a whole bunch of pink because you need to be a confident woman as well. So, what is the style that you like? I've heard terms like chic, boho chic, whatever. I call myself eclectic. I could be formal one day. I could go quirky another day. I could be retro another day if you want to put names on it. In high school, I was voted class prep. And I was like, I'm not preppy. But what it was is that I was a little different and I would dress, I called it costuming. I might be an equestrian one day. The next time you see me, I might have on a suit, a zoot suit with the hat, the whole shebang. You know, it's just, I felt free enough to express myself. Self expression is key. I felt free enough to express myself through my clothing, as I still do, which builds confidence because I have identified what I like. Okay. Then the second thing is to identify what looks good on you. So just because they have it in the store doesn't mean you should have it on your back. So the cut, not just the style, but the cut. Like, I'm not good with an umpire. Umpire waistline did not flatter me, but something with a little cleavage and maybe a scrunch on the side would flatter me. I know that about myself. I like long, full length trousers, but I can also wear a skinnier pant with a short. It just depends. Learn what works for you and then dress for the occasion. It's nothing worse than seeing someone ill prepared for the occasion that they're at. So maybe they dressed in something that was too skimpy and they were at a more formal place, or maybe they dressed too formal and they should have been more relaxed. Dress for the occasion. And so, how do you know what the occasion is? Well, usually, if it's something that is a public affair and it's happened more than one time, you can go online and see how people dress. Like, I remember the first time I went to the polo match. I didn't know how people dressed at a polo match. I'd seen polo matches on TV, but a real polo match that was local to a specific area. How do you know that there's a culture everywhere you go? So there's a certain standard of the way you dress in different places. Well, anyway, I looked it up online and I found out how people dressed. And then I decided to adapt my own personal style to that style, and it worked. So you can develop a signature style by doing those things, really finding out what you like. I go to Pinterest, I create a board. Everything that I see on the board is fashion wise, I put it in that one category. And then I have an idea of my style. And then wear makeup and take care of your skin. I have been using, my mother started buying us oil of Olay when we were very young. So we always took care of our skin. My skin regimen over the years has changed. But one thing that's always been for sure is that you don't sleep in makeup, you wash or clean your face, and you moisturize. And now that I'm in Arizona, sunblock all the time, never fail. That's what you got to do. You got to wear makeup and take care of your skin so you exude health. And health is a show outwardly that you care about yourself and that you exercise self-care and love on yourself. Okay. You also have to think about your home. And this is the other thing. Your home represents who you are. And I don't care if you are a relaxed person, your femininity is based on your surroundings too. And the one thing that must be made certain is that if you live in a house, if you're a wife or a husband, I mean a wife, or you have a husband or fiance, and people come to your house, I don't care that you live there with him and five other people. That house is representing you. So the first thing I'm going to say, which is a pet peeve of mine, put something on the wall. Put something on your walls. Don't have plain white walls. Your environment represents or should represent a place of peace for you, whatever that looks like. I'm very eclectic. I have paintings of different kinds. I have books everywhere. I have a certain aesthetic that matches my personality, but I show you that this is my home. So when people come, if the home isn't clean, if the home smells, if his stuff is broken down and needs repair, it is a reflection of you. And people do judge you on that. So you could agree or disagree, but that's the truth. Okay. And if you can't do it yourself, hire the professional services that you can afford. Maybe you can only afford to pay to get your hair done or afford to have somebody customize a wig for you. Maybe you can only afford to shop for clothes every now and then. You don't can't afford a stylist. That's cool. Do what you can afford, but think about getting a professional to help. Maybe you can have somebody come